StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is we are moving into part 2 of our ongoing series, which are the different ways that you can do your homework. Before we get into this, it's going to be a 3-part series, by the way. Before we get into this, I remind you of 2 things. First of all, my daily motivation and Monday motivation text messages guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day or your week, respectively. All you got to do to get those is be part of my text community. So when we start sending those messages again and we reactivate, you'll be getting them straight to your phone. Let me give you the number to text: 305-384-6894. Send a text to that number right now. And once we start sending those messages again, if you're in my community, you'll already be getting them. And if you are not, then I have to remind you about this again. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the place where I do all my coaching. I'm looking for top 2% performers. We are not looking for everybody. We can help everybody, but we're not looking for everybody because we got to be selective about who we give our resources, our time, and attention to, because we can't work with everyone and give everybody exactly what they need. So we're looking for high-level performers, top performing individuals, people who are serious about taking your game where you want to go, and you really are taking ownership of your destiny and how you want to move forward when it comes to your personal life, your business life, your mindset, your strategies, your systems, and the accountability to make sure things get implemented. If that is you, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. With that out the way, let's get into it. We're picking up again on part 2 of what's going to be a 3-part series, different ways you can do your homework. Point number 4, we're picking up here. We did 1 through 3 in yesterday's episode. Point number 4 is pre-performance discipline. What exactly does that mean? Pre-performance discipline. If you're an athlete and you know you have a game tomorrow, should you stay out late smoking weed and drinking alcohol the night before the game? Probably not, right? It's a discipline for you to not do that, even if you enjoy doing it. If you have a big job interview tomorrow morning, should you stay awake at night watching movies and scrolling through social media as opposed to going to sleep and getting a full night's rest? Probably not. Right? You understand this, right? If you go into that same job interview, would it make sense if you were to prepare a file and do some research on the person or the people who will be interviewing you so that you can show them that you have done some thinking about them the same way that they may have done some thinking about you? I think everybody would agree to this. I think everyone would agree to these examples that I'm throwing out here. So the question is, what disciplines can you execute ahead of the performance that will make the performance more easy for you? Whatever your performance is in life, whether that's going to the gym, whether it's playing in a sport, whether it's doing a sales presentation, whether it's some way that you are running or operating your business, whether it's putting yourself in position to do any of those things, what can you do ahead of the thing in order to be prepared to do the thing? Are there some disciplines that you could execute? Answer for this is absolutely there are some. The question for you is figuring out what they are for you and then making sure that you're actually doing them if you want to do your homework. If you're a professional at what you do, this should be part of your normal modus operandi, not something that you do just every once in a while. In other words, this should be a normal standard of behavior. So if you're a person who knows you're going to wake up in the morning and work out every day, that means you should know that you need to go to bed by a certain time every night so that you have the energy to actually get out of bed when that alarm clock goes off in the morning so that you get your workout in rather than you wanting to sleep in for an extra 30 minutes to an hour because you didn't get enough sleep the previous night, because you stayed up too late the night before, because you didn't execute pre-performance discipline. So you see all these things just work in a cascade. If you execute the discipline early, then later on, it is easier to do the thing that you know you will need to do. And if you fail to execute discipline early, then it becomes much harder to do the thing that you need to do later on. And pre-performance discipline is a form of doing your homework. I remember when I was playing ball in Montenegro, and it was when I had first gotten there, and we hadn't had our first game yet. I'd been there maybe 2 or 3 days, and we were about to have a game the following day. And my teammates, I was the only American on the team. All my teammates were either from Montenegro or they were from Serbia. And a couple of my teammates lived in a flat. They call them flats out there, what we call apartments or condos they call flats. So a couple of my teammates lived in the same flat building that I did. I had my own apartment, but their apartment was right next door to my apartment. and they were about to go out to some club and party the night before this game. And this is my first game playing in Montenegro. So they hadn't seen me, the team, the management who had signed me, they had not yet seen me play. So I knew from experience, because this was not my first rodeo in pro basketball when I was in Montenegro, I knew from experience that this first game meant a lot as far as what their impression would be of me moving forward. And it might even be a referendum on whether or not I could keep my job. Because again, it wasn't my first rodeo. I had seen things happen in pro basketball. So I knew I needed to play really well and I needed to impress in whatever opportunity I got in that game that was coming up the following day. So when my teammate said to me, Dre, let's go out to party this night, I said, no, I'm not going to party. And they said, why not? And I said, well, we have a game tomorrow. And they said, oh, don't worry about it because the team we're playing against is some bummy, crappy team. Doesn't matter. You'll be okay. Don't worry about it. And I said, no. And I tried to explain. I didn't really go into depth, even telling them what I just told you. But I let them know enough that no, that I need to perform well in this game more than you need to perform well in this game because all of you are from here. And if one of you doesn't have a good game, you don't have a microscope on you. I knew I had a microscope on me. And again, I didn't even say that much to them. I just let them know, like, no, I got to be ready for the game. I'm not doing it. And they were trying to tell me that I should come out. And then one of my teammates, he said, come on, Jerry, you got to come out. White girls. That's literally what he said. He said, white girls, Jerry, you got to come out. You going to miss out on the white girls? And I don't know. I guess these guys watch TV. So who knows where he got that from, but that's what he said. But I still ended up turning them down. I did not go, and I don't even remember what happened in that game, but I didn't go out that night. The whole point being, this was my pre-performance discipline. I understood that if I had a game the next day, I wasn't going to go out and party the night before, no matter how great the party seemed to be. Even going back earlier than that, I remember when I went to an exposure camp. This was in Orlando in 2005. So this is before I got my first job playing ball overseas. And this exposure camp was the one that kind of set me on the path to getting on overseas. I played pretty well at this camp, and then I got an agent from that, and then I got my first playing contract from that. I remember when we went to this exposure camp, it was me and a couple of my college teammates, and the camp was only Saturday and Sunday. So we got there on Saturday to start playing. So the only night we actually spent in Orlando was Saturday night because we drove Friday night, like overnight, basically to get there. And then we left Sunday afternoon after the camp ended and drove back home. So Saturday night, after the exposure camp activities ended for the day, a bunch of players who we knew, they were all talking about, hey, let's go find the nightclubs or the strip clubs or whatever nightlife activity is going on here in Orlando since we're here. Because mind you, it was like 200 basketball players. We're all about in our early 20s ish, maybe mid 20s. And all these guys are going and looking for where the party is. Because many of us had come from a college environment where that's what we did. We played sports and then we went and partied at night, especially on a Saturday night. But in this situation, we're trying to play our way into a professional contract. So me and the guys that I was with, we didn't go out and party that night, but a bunch of players who were at the exposure camp did want to go out and party that night. And I remember we were just talking amongst ourselves, like how these guys are still trying to go out and party. And this is the one opportunity that we get to try to make ourselves make it happen as pro athletes. And they can't even have discipline just for this one night. This whole point is this pre-performance discipline. You will find many uses for it when you have it. And if you start thinking about it in your own situations, your life and your business, you'll see there are many opportunities you have to execute on this. Point number 5. Today's topic, once again, is the different ways that you can do your homework. Number 5 is knocking down the big dominoes. The big dominoes, I don't mean the pizza shop. Metaphorically, a big domino is the one thing that you could do right now that would render a bunch of other smaller things much less relevant or maybe even completely irrelevant. That's what a big domino is. So, for example, if you have a bunch of financial issues right now, let's say you had a bunch of money problems right now. So, you got these bills that you need to pay for and this thing that you want to do, but you haven't been able to do it because you don't have the money to get it done. Or you have this other stuff that you want to take care of, but it costs a certain amount of money, which you don't have right now. And you think about all the issues that you have going on in your life, and all of them seem to be related to money or a lack thereof. What is your big domino? Your big domino is an accumulation of money. So if you were able to accumulate a large amount of money, whatever large would be for you, maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's 10,000, maybe it's 100,000, whatever that number is. If you were to solve the problem of accumulating a large amount of money, that would take all those 16 problems that you have right now, and you would take care of all of them with the money that you had, right? So your big domino is the accumulation of money. And one way that you can do your homework better is to focus on the big domino rather than focusing on all the little dominoes. So instead of focusing on what are some different things that I can say or different things that I can do to maybe get an extension on this bill that I need to pay, or this thing I need to get delay on, or this person who I need to talk to buy myself some extra time, or this thing that maybe I'll figure out a way to keep doing things with less than what I need because I can't afford to get the stuff that I do need. And instead of focusing on that and strategizing on that, how about you take all that brain energy and that time and put it towards, how do I just get this mass amount of money? How does I go get myself $10,000 or 5,000 or 500, whatever the amount is that you need, dollars that will let me take care of all of these problems? Because if I knock down this one big domino, then all the rest of these dominoes don't even matter because they will no longer be problems. Problems will go away. So that's what a big domino is. So what's the one thing that you could do right now that would render a bunch of your other smaller things either less relevant or completely irrelevant? So if you're in sales, for example, I'll give you another example of this from a different angle. If you're a salesperson, whenever you are selling to a person, they are often making their decision based on one or two specific factors, not based on all 35 factors that you are capable of talking about or sharing about your product or service. There may only be a couple really important things that matter the most to them. And the better you understand what that factor is or what those factors are, and the better you can speak to those factors, the less you will need to talk about anything else about what you're selling. Because again, anything else might not matter. So if you're selling a product or service that has 35 features, again, you don't have to go through all 35 in order to make a sale. You need to find out what are the two or three features that your customer prospect really cares about. And if you just get them to understand those two or three and how those two or three satisfy their needs, they don't care about the other 32 factors. They'll just buy the product based off that. So it saves you a whole bunch of time, saves them a whole bunch of time, and they'll respect your professionalism because you spoke to what they cared about, not just what you wanted to say, because what you want to say doesn't really matter. So when you knock down the big domino, all the other little dominoes no longer matter. So as that in that sales example, you knock down those two or three big dominoes, the other 32 or 33 little dominoes that are the features of your product are irrelevant. They don't matter. You still make the sale and you only have to talk about it. So this is a way that you can do your homework. Figure out what the big domino is. Your homework is to figure out what is the big domino. In any situation you face in life, ask yourself, what is the big domino? And when you figure out what that is, all your energy needs to go towards knocking down that domino. Now, this can be a little bit challenging, maybe harder than it sounds, simply because knocking down the domino usually is not so cut and dry. And obviously, is absolutely isn't as simple as I make it sound. It's not as easy, rather, as I make it sound. It is as simple as I make it sound. It's just not as easy as I make it sound, but that doesn't mean that it's not doable. The challenge for many people is that they, as the saying goes, major in minor things, focus so much on the little dominoes that you never put the requisite amount of resources into knocking down the big domino, that if you just did that, all those little dominoes and the effort you put into them would be unnecessary. That's the whole point. This is a flip in mindset here. This is not a strategic thing. This is not a skill thing. It's not a resource thing or a talent thing. This is a flip in mindset. Let me just focus on knocking down the big domino, and then all the rest of the stuff will be taken care of on its own. So knock down the one, and the rest of them get taken care of by themselves. Point number 6. Today's topic, once again, we are talking about the different ways that you can do your homework. Number 6, installing more efficient processes. The main thing that makes a business strong is not its products or services, it's the processes and systems that a business uses to sell their products and services. Let me say that sentence again. The main thing that makes a business strong is not the products and services itself. It's the system that the business uses to sell their products and services. For example, everyone here is familiar with McDonald's. Hopefully you are only familiar with it in name and that you are not a customer or consumer of the material. But McDonald's, we all can agree, does not necessarily have the highest quality materials as far as what they sell. They don't have the best sodas or the best milkshakes or what is the thing they sell? McFlurries, the best ice cream. They don't have the best burgers and they don't have the best fries. They do sell those things, but it's not the best. Most of us would agree they're objectively not the best. However, they do a healthy amount of sales, a robust amount of sales in their business, and they have a ton of locations. Why is this? It's because McDonald's has a really great system. They have really strong processes that beat out their competitors who even have better products. So their competitors have better products, and McDonald's has a better system. Which one is winning? If we're talking just in sales, McDonald's is winning. So the local burger shop that you say makes a burger that's 15 times better than McDonald's Big Mac You are correct. I agree with you without even tasting that burger that you're referring to. However, we can both agree as well that McDonald's is kicking that local burger shop's ass when it comes to overall revenue. Why? Because McDonald's has a system and a process. And maybe even that store, maybe even a local McDonald's just in your town are kicking that local shop's asses just in the local numbers, just because McDonald's has the best system and they have the best process for getting their stuff out to market. Entrepreneurs, this is something that you should take to heart. What I just said, what I just explained, you should take this to heart. It's the system and the process, not necessarily the product and the service. I'll give you an example in my own business as a consultant. When I say consulting, it just means a person who sells their intellectual property. In other words, the product that you're selling is not something tangible. It's more your knowledge, your experience, your insights. So this can be professional speakers, coaches, authors. What's the other thing? People who do actually consulting, trainings, workshops. You do anything like that. This is all under the umbrella of what we call consulting. In the consulting space, the thing that helps you make money is not how great your materials are, i.e., your speech or your training or how motivational you are when you get on stage. It's actually your ability to sell that stuff. Because if you don't sell it, then you never get to give a speech, you never get to render a training, and you never get to share your story from a stage. So your ability to sell it is more important than your ability to do it. It's the ability to sell the thing rather than just doing the thing. And I have an episode on that. Let me refer you to that. That is episode number, let me see. So I talked about why you can't sell to save your life. There's another one. I wasn't even looking this one up. It's episode 16, 87, 88, and 89. I talked about that in a three-part series. Then episode number 1575, doing the thing versus selling the thing is what I'm talking about here. That's the system. The system and process is your ability to sell the thing. Now, you also have a system and process for doing the thing, but you got to sell it before you can do it. You don't get a chance to do it if you can't sell. So as you put more efficient processes into the business of you incorporated, because you can have a system and a process for stuff that is not work related. You have a system or process for how you lay your clothes out the night before. You can have a system for how you go to the gym and work out. You can have a system for how you keep the house clean and how you do laundry. You can have systems for as many things as you want. And what it does is it makes your work easier because you have done the work ahead of time of coming up with a process so that when it's time to do the work, you don't have to think about what to do. You just follow the process and the process tells you what to do. So you don't have to do any thinking. You're saving yourself brain power by doing the work ahead of time, also known as your homework. So question is, how can you make your processes for execution, performance, and producing results better? You should be asking yourself this question all the time. How can I make my processes better so I can achieve more results more easily? Always ask yourself this question and then implement the answers. Whatever answers you get, you must implement them. A lot of times people get ideas, but they don't implement the ideas. So understand that you do not need to come up with all the answers on your own as well. This is one of the main reasons why you tap into the brains and knowledge of other people. I just referred to consulting, which is exactly that. You're tapping into other people's knowledge and you pay them for the access because they can help you figure out things that you never would have thought of using your own experience or your own intelligence. And this is completely fine. There are 8 billion people on the planet. There's one of you. If you were to add up the brain power of all 8 billion versus just you by yourself, which one wins? Of course, the masses of people. So you want to tap into the brain power of other people because there are ideas and secrets in there and things that will help you immensely if you would just pick your head up from just limiting yourself to you and open yourself up to other people. For example, when I first put out my website, dreallday.com, it still exists to this day. It was an HTML based website. And any of you know anything about web language, HTML is like the rudimentary website design. This was an HTML based website, meaning if I needed to update my website, I would have to go through the back end, the database area of the website, and I would write up my blog post articles. Then I would update the HTML and save it, and then the blog post would come up on my website. This is how basic my web understanding and my website were when they first came out in 2007. So if you don't know what any of this stuff means, just know it was very, very, very basic stuff. It's kind of like it was the equivalent of hieroglyphics written on the caveman walls was how I was updating my website in 2007, pretty much. But somebody who I knew, they reached out to me because they had seen my website and they told me that I might want to try putting my website on this platform called WordPress. They said, you have a website, just put it on WordPress and it'll be a lot easier for you to do your website stuff. And even though I don't use WordPress anymore today, it was a hell of an upgrade from what I had at that time. WordPress was a hell of a step up from what I was doing at that time. So I really appreciated this person giving me that information. And the reason I'm bringing that up is to help you see that my upgraded process and system for what I was doing with my website didn't come from me. That's not an idea that I came up with on my own. That was an idea that someone else came up with because they knew who I were, they knew who I was, they saw me, and they said, "Hey, I have an idea. You might want to use this," and it was a good idea. So that was a form of a more efficient process that again did not come from my own brain. It allowed me to update my material a lot more quickly and easily. And my website was a big part of how I got my name out there back in the day when I first came out. Again, I still use it to this day, but it was a really big part back then because the social media that we have now, this show, none of those things existed at that time. So the website was a big thing, and me upgrading it was a big step forward for me. With that said, let's recap today's class, which is we're on part 2 of 2 different ways you can do your homework. Number 4, pre-performance discipline. You know you have a performance coming up. What can you do that will set you up to be better prepared to perform? Remembering that we are in a performance and a results-based business. Anything you can do that will get you more ready to perform is a thing that you should probably take a long, hard look at and then actually do it. Number 5, knocking down the big dominoes. What is the one thing that if you took care of it, it would render all the other smaller things that are numerous in number, it would render them completely irrelevant because the big thing took care of all of them. Figure out what that is and put your energy into that instead of putting your energy into all the little things. And as we say, majoring in minor things. Just major in the major thing. And even though you may not get the dopamine rush of always getting a success because it's harder to knock down that big thing, once you knock it down, you'll get a huge dopamine rush because you're knocking down everything all at once. And again, it's a much more efficient way to get things done and one that most people ignore. And number 6, installing more efficient processes. What can help you do your job better, faster, stronger, more easily? And again, you don't have to limit yourself to what you can come up with on your own. It's the reason why you tap into the brains and knowledge of other people, because they can see things and they just know things you don't know. And there are many more other people than there are of just one you. With all that said, tomorrow we'll go into part 3 of this series. Make sure you text me so you're in my community. My number's down below in the description. Also, workonyourgameuniversity.com. If you would like to work with me directly, we're looking for top 2% performing individuals. No average people, no knick-knack people, no people who are not serious about moving yourself forward. If you are serious about moving yourself forward, you are a high-level performer or you want to be, and you're ready to get moving now, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre, all